When you come to London, you expect to see certain things, don't you? The changing of the guard, Buckingham Palace, and of course this, the brilliant and beautiful Household Cavalry. Now they come past this particular area here every single morning on what they call their canter, their ride out, their exercise. Of course there's quite a few of them, and more importantly they're mounted by the soldiers that ride them in all of those ceremonial events. But today, if you were a tourist in London, what you would have seen across these very busy streets is none other than rampage carnage, and some people say absolute terror. As ever, let me explain. So what you actually saw were scenes like this, literally unprecedented scenes in the very heart of London. People going about their daily work, climbing on buses, going down the tube, and then suddenly bang, 5 horses broke loose, literally, and were running amok across central London, literally terrifying everybody in their way. The British Metropolitan Police didn't know anything about it, didn't know how to stop it. But what caused this absolute nightmare, literally, at the very start of a busy London day? As everyone knows, Buckingham Palace is currently undergoing an extensive refurbishment, and of course that's costing millions of pounds. But work waits for no one, and quite frankly, even though you're part of the Royal Regiment, things really have to go on. Now, just up the road here, literally behind me, is all where the works are undergoing for Buckingham Palace. And as the horses left their compound, what happened was there was an almighty crash of a delivery of concrete, and this then spooked the horses, and what followed was absolute catastrophe. Truly, how could this have happened? Well, it's quite simple. While of course the Household Cavalry horses are definitely trained 100% to deal with any amount of catastrophe around them, and we've seen them obviously on display most recently of course at the coronation of King Charles III, the Platinum Jubilee, and every year at things like Trooping the Colour. They're not easily spooked, even when famously a gunshot was fired during the Trooping of the Colour from Our late Majesty the Queen, who was on parade that day. No, the horse didn't balk and she kept it under control. But what happened this morning was simply this. The problem, you see, being that a massive, literally, bang occurred once the concrete went down. And this literally set the horses in panic mode, throwing the soldiers off the horses into the ground, which they then broke free and literally decided to stampede through the very heart and centre of London. It didn't stop there though, oh no. They went through the Aldwych, the Strand, literally into the West End. The problem was that nobody really knew how or when to stop them. Would they stop of their own accord? Bigger scenes then occurred. One of the horses, a white horse, literally banged into the side of a single-decker bus, literally smashing the glass and harming itself profusely, bleeding everywhere, shocking everybody along its way. Worse than that, of course, what really then evolved was who could possibly stop them. Naturally, the rest of the Household Cavalry came out to try and recover these horses, but nobody really knew where they were going to go next. Finally, after a couple of hours, thankfully, everything was put in order. And more importantly, what we can tell you is that while there's been some slight injuries, particularly to the soldiers, no one has been seriously hurt. And even this picture of the horse covered in blood, literally upsetting so many people through the very heart of London, isn't as serious as it first looks. Actually being wonderful horse lovers, very concerned about the public, and more importantly, the soldiers, both His Majesty the King and the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, were informed immediately. They've been updated throughout the day and apparently are going to be making a private visit down to the Household Cavalry as and when it's suitable. A terrible situation, rather shocking, and not one that you'd expect to see literally in the very heart of London if you come for a visit. But this, of course, is one of those unprecedented moments and will go down, no doubt, without a doubt, in royal history. It's a terrible situation though when you think, because we often think, don't we, that horses are such tame animals. We train them, and more importantly, they couldn't possibly have a problem. As we saw today, even in the 21st century, there are still things that literally can spook animals. And the lesson learned here, of course, is to make sure that whatever you're doing, don't assume that even the most highly trained animal will literally respond in the way that you think. Either way, today will be a day that the Household Cavalry will never forget. The day that the King's horses ran free, roamed free, and literally shocked the very centre of London. Neil Sean, SBS Show News in the very heart of London.